Hey, this is Tom, Junkie. Welcome back to the One Take series. And we've asked you what track you like some comments on, and you guys came back. And we're now going to review the track that I did with Tiësto, Obsession, which was done in 2000, and it came out in 2001. It came out as a 12-inch first, did really well, and then Tiësto decided to put it on his album in my memory. What was interesting at the time is that I already had some sort of an international career going on, touring around the world. But Tiësto was still like young and fresh, and he was about to blow up. And that year, 2000, 2001, he completely blew up. And I remember a couple of his gigs that he did back then in England, and they were just like so fantastic and so great to see, you know, a fellow Dutch guy do so well. So let's go to Spotify. I found the track, and let's hit it. We're just going to talk about it. Now, the reason why this track is called Obsession, we'll find out later in the track. The first thing we hear is like all kinds of rhythms and, you know, to do the mix intro for the track. What's interesting about this track is that this is the second track that I made on a Pro Tools system. Before that, I was working on Cubase. This is the first time that I started making tracks in Pro Tools. And the bass is now kicking in, and I think I made that bass with a couple of my MS-20s or something like that combined together, and to get that offbeat, typical trance rhythm. What was really fun at the time is that Tiësto didn't have a whole lot of time to hang out with me, so there were certain sections of the day that we would hang out. And I remember that his favorite drink at the time was vodka with apple juice. I mean, vodka, apple juice, right? So that was the drink of choice while we were working on this track. And what's funny too about this track, it's kind of similar as with the Coldplay track that we discussed recently, is that people loved long remixes, like long tracks. So also this track really builds towards like one point and then to the second point. So at this point where it's all sitting on one bass note, and we're setting up to a point where the first riff comes in, and I always like to work in the three-step rocket. So do that first, then you have your first riff, and then you get to the breakdown, and from there, there's this whole melodic, harmonic development, which was really what the style was at the time to do that. The little offbeats kind of things that you hear were sampled in a very old sampler, one of the oldest ones that I have, which is the Roland S50. It has a really nice gritty quality to it, so I did it with that box. And now we hear that riff coming in, the first riff that comes in. Very basic, very simple, and Tiësto has like its unique way of shaping his tracks, which was completely based on what he liked during, you know, his DJ performances. And I remember when we were still working on this track, I played a test version of this track at I think it was Gatecrasher NAC 2000, a disco generation. I did a show there. That's the first time that I played it. And then there was, I think it was Homelands or it was Gatecrasher in England, where Tiësto played it for the first time to test it out with his crowd. And we took the notes back, and you know, that's when we finished the track. The beat just dropped. That was like a big moment in both our shows. So we both said to each other, "Don't touch that section. That's good. That's working good." One of the takeaway from both test driving these tracks was that the breakdown wasn't long enough, and I felt that, and Tiësto felt that too. So the breakdown that's coming up later in the track, we made it a lot longer. And like I said before, these, these times were perfect for super long breakdowns. The audience went crazy, they went mad, they went like nuts. It couldn't be long enough. And then when that beat would drop, it would be Christmas, in the summer. A lot of the synths that we hear here, like the arpeggiation synths, those are all coming from the Roland JP8080, which was a modern synth. It came out somewhere in the 90s, and it's a very good sounding box. And you can actually pick them up right now for not too much money. And it was, a way for Roland to jump back in on the famous Jupiter 8 sound with like a new synthesizer. Aha, there we hear it, Obsession. Just gonna, here it comes again. I'm gonna be quiet for a second. There it is. The beautiful thing of 2000 is like you got away with stuff that you would never get away with right now. So basically we sampled that from a Calvin Klein commercial, like on TV, I think. I'm not even sure anymore, but I think that's what it was. And here you hear those synths like building up and building up and building up. Oh, and the pads that sit behind it, that was also a Roland synth. That was the Super JX. Yes, I had one of those. The Super JX was, I think it was a combination of two jigs, 8-piece, but I have to check that. I'm not 100% sure. Now we're kind of coming out of the break, and we get this build up to like something really, really noisy and really, really big before the beat drops. With that big minor chord that now comes in and it gets louder and louder and louder and louder. That was the way to do it in 2000. That's how you made the kids happy. Yeah. And then the beat drop. Yeah, I mean, I remember playing this live many, many, many times after it was done. So did Tiësto. I'm super fond of this track. Every time I hear it, I have memories of my studio at the time, which was in a cellar in Amsterdam with no windows. So it didn't matter what time you went in or out, it was always the same vibe in there. And it was like a little hideout where Tiësto and I could just like work like super nice, on this track for hours and hours on end. And then what I like in the structure of dance tracks is that the track almost is like you could hold the track up to a mirror and then you see what the rest of the track is going to be. So now that we come out of the breakdown, we now go back to the synth riff that the track started with to begin. So it's like a perfect mirror of where the breakdown started. And then after that, you start building down the track so you could mix it with other stuff. Most of the dance tracks that I made would always end on a single note bass sequence or chord sequence. So you could easily beat match it with another track without having chord progressions going on that wouldn't work potentially with the new record that you play. Now I only did live shows, so for me it wasn't a big deal because I could program whatever I wanted to program. But for DJs that's nice. So the section where we are right now, when things kind of thin out, but you still hear the Obsession sample and the signature rhythm of the track, you could easily blend that with now a new track coming in that in his or her turn has not all that much going on in the beginning of the track, so you maintain the identity of the outgoing track while you start bringing in the new track. And in those days, people, it was almost like a craft, to mix as long as you could and keep the records in sync, and that would really turn you into like a mastercraft DJ, like obviously Tiësto was and is. So it was a lot of fun. to work on this track in 2000. So it's like 18 years ago. Man, I'm getting old. But I haven't listened to this for at least 15 years or so, 10, 15 years. Actually, I did this this afternoon to prep myself for this recording. So I hope you like this one-take session, and please send us the tracks that you would like to see reviewed, and we'll take care of it in our next episode. See you next time.